What's morning, Prince folks? We're back on the job. Called in yesterday, took a rest after carrying a cross, man. I'm telling you, it's like John Coffey and Green Mile. The drain comes out. More importantly than that, it's like when the woman touched him and Jesus' garment with the issue of blood of 12 years, and Jesus felt the power go out of him. This is what I asked you, brother James, my brother James Baker, that got me to carrying a cross, or was the example of doing so, introduced me to it. And man, you do feel a drain the next day. But back on the job, let's dive right into the lesson. This is called to be comforters. Yes, this is what my sister needs, my nieces need, my nephews need, and my niece's 3 babies, Nowalkus, Codaberry, and Keach. So let's see what they got to say, bringing strength and comfort to the family. I saw the tears of the oppressed, and they have no comforter. That's Ecclesiastes 4:1. And as always remember that Solomon, David's son, is the one that wrote Ecclesiastes. We have a quote, none other than Mother Teresa. We all know who Mother Teresa is. When we turn our backs on the poor, we turn them on Jesus Christ. That is sad, Blessed are the poor. Okay. In words, Solomon's wisdom in Ecclesiastes is abiding, bitter assessment of life as it is under the sun. It does not take into account the intervention of a redeeming God that gives purpose to all things. No, this is what life with a distant God looks like. In this picture, everything is meaningless. So when the teacher looks at the oppressed, the widows, orphans, and captives found in every society in every era, he sees no comforter. There is no one on their side. God sees the same situation. We are told that he is a father to the fatherless, a defender of widows, but more than that, he is constantly calling his people to take care of those who are needy. And we are to be good to the strangers, orphans, and widows. The people of God are never to be the oppressors, but are always to side with the oppressed. Yes, we are to work for their justice, sacrifice for their welfare, and provide for their needs. We may have various political, social, or spiritual philosophies and how that is to be done, or we may argue over which institution is best equipped to meet the needs. But there is one scriptural principle that we cannot argue with if we believe God's word. It is our job to show God's compassion for those who need it. Think of the commands. In the law of Moses, God always made provision for widows, orphans, and others in need. Proverbs tells us that whoever oppresses the poor shows contempt for God, and that God will not answer the prayers of those who neglect the poor. And unless we think God's concern for the needy is an Old Testament phenomenon, consider James. Real faith always involves looking after widows and orphans. Indeed, the conclusion. How do you trust the poor? How do you treat the poor and oppressed? Your answer is essentially a barometer of your relationship with God. You can measure the degree to which your heart beats with his by your invisible act of concern for the needy. Solomon's observation that the poor have no comforter begs a response. God calls his people to be that response. It makes me think of my cousin, James Redbird. Shout out to you and your wife, Jenna Redbird. This couple, I didn't even not know I was related to James till about 5 or 6 weeks ago. He had a tent revival over in Anadarko on the fairgrounds by the Baldwin building. And man, they helped the poor. They helped the needy. They had a drive-through prayer service before we had our prayer walk. And they helped the needy. And that is excellence. As for me, do I help the needy? I've helped them individually, but within an organization, that's you can give more to more people, help the homeless. And then before I got to know these guys, I had my eyeball, of course, on my Facebook, and I missed that on a great event in the wintertime over in Anadarko. I stepped and fetch him. James and all this crew was down, and they were taking it to the homeless. Now I will say this: when I was carrying a cross and I ran into that long hat, that big old tall tree of a dude, and little dude, he was a large. It's kind of funny, little dude named Large, but man, they come over to me. They was hanging out at Step and Fetch him, and they said, we love Jesus too. We need to eat too, so don't pass us by. And what I did was I waved my eagle feather at them, because I was on a mission to get home, or to the service rather, to meet up with my girls and my family. And they walked up to me, and I was humbled, and I was like, you're right, guys. I said, what's up being high being too good? I was just, I'm on a mission to get to the service in Apache, which was Billy Harris' service. And, we started talking, but it made me think, man, when we parted ways, I was like, they're right. And usually, man, I will stop, like at the other wagon bag on the other side of town by Terry Edmonds' house. I'd see all the ones that are looked down upon, all the drinkers. I'll go over to them and give them a drink of the new wine, because once upon a time I was one of them. And one of the dear friends of mine, we'll just call her a lady, I ain't gonna say her name because he was a Faithful Spirit Conceals Manor, but I went over there to check on her and as well as all of them, and then helped her out with the bride. Not help out stuff like that, but it's greater to be in an organization that can help them out. Perhaps this is the calling that we need, a white church to help out the poor and the despondent and the destitute there in Carnegie, Oklahoma. All right, man, so there it is. Be good to the poor. It's a reflection of where we stand in God. Blessed in your journey.